Hello everybody, welcome to day 14 of Sound Design September. Today I have a sound with a little bit of a strange origin story for you guys. This is a sound that I would really associate with Modum Festival. Of course, personally I'm known for a little bit more progressive type of psytrance, but I do like listening a lot to those kind of live sets. And I've always associated this sound with these festivals, but I've never really been able to pinpoint exactly where it comes from. Like there's no single artist that kind of inspires this. And even now in preparation for this video, I wasn't actually able to find like an example in the set where I actually found this sound. So if there is any artist that you know that uses it or something like that, please leave it down in the comments below so that I know. Either way, the sound that I'm talking about is this one over here. So this is a very clicky sound and there's some very interesting things that we're doing, especially in the triggering of this sound. But first, just going into the patch itself, you'll see that it's actually very, very simple. We can see that we have a saw wave with two voices of unison and a little bit of detune going through this very resonant low pass filter over here. And this is where we get the strong tonality from. That is all generated by this peak over here. And you can also see that in terms of the envelope itself, we're generating a very short click. We just have 64 milliseconds of decay over here and no release whatsoever. So this is like a very short burst of sound. But you can hear that in terms of the texture itself, the sound is much more extended. Like it doesn't sound like it's only this short, especially if you also take into account the arpeggiator that we have over here. So what is actually happening is that we're generating like a very short impulse, and then we're using this comb filter over here to extend that impulse. What you'll see is that this frequency is set very low. In this case, it is actually tuned to the key of D sharp. So this frequency over here is actually the frequency of D sharp. Of course, it's not exactly 38 Hz, but this is the closest approximation that we have. And then we have this very long resonance over here so that you get that really extended effect. Without this comb filter, you'll hear that it's just click sounds. And the cool thing is, because we're randomizing the frequency of this low pass over here with the note on random, which is the only modulation in this patch, sometimes this peak lines up with one of the peaks in the comb filter and then you get a more extended sound, whereas other times it is not lining up or it is lining up with one of the troughs in this filter. For those that don't know, a comb filter looks somewhat like this. So you have this alternating kind of increase and decrease. And wherever our low pass filter is actually lining up with a peak like this, it is going to be extended more. Whereas if it's in this lower area over here, it is going to be extended less and you just get kind of like a normal click sound. Now the rest of the patch is just simple processing. All of these effects over here are just there to bring out the sound a little bit more, give a little bit of extra stereo wave. And then we have our standard delay and the high pass filter. In this case, what you see though is that the high pass filter is a little bit higher than what you would normally get. And this was really so that it could capture just mainly the high frequencies of the sound. It is done through the Q here, and if I move this up, you'll hear that there's actually quite a nasty like mid-range to the sound. You sometimes get like a very nasty knocking sound, which is not really the effect that I want to go for. So with the Q all the way down, we just completely remove that. And that's really all there is to this sound. Except for one thing, and that is going to be the MIDI. If we open up this MIDI clip over here, you can see it almost looks like it's bugged. But that is because in this MIDI, we're actually triggering every note that there is available to us. So you can see that every note is being played here. And then if we go into the arpeggiator, what you'll see is that we have this set to random other. Meaning that for every 16 note, it is just going to find a random note out of all of the notes that are available, and it's just going to trigger that one. And again, we can do this because this comb filter is actually what is responsible for the key, since we have tuned this to the key of our track. So this is kind of a different way of kind of randomizing the pitch. What you could do is also randomize the coarse pitch over here, but doing it through the MIDI is a little bit more interesting in my opinion. So that is the example patch. Now I'm going to try to remake something like that inside of Vital. Wait, have you told them that this patch is available on your Patreon? No, I haven't. Thank you. Both of these patches are actually going to be available on my Patreon page. So if you want to support the channel, that is a great way to do it. And you'll get some nice patches for that in return. So to do that, let's start by making a new MIDI track over here. We're just going to load up Vital here. I get this comment a lot, by the way, but just so that you guys don't have to comment this all the time. This menu is from something called Live Enhancement Suite. It is only available for Live 10 and 11, so it's not available for the latest version. But anyway, for anybody that was wondering, that is where you get it. And maybe every once in a while I just have to mention that in the video because not a lot of people seem to know that. Anyway, now that we have Vital loaded up and have copied over the MIDI, what we can also copy over is the arpeggiator. One of the things to note is that the arpeggiator is set to a very low gate, but that doesn't really matter because we're going to set up a very short amplitude envelope over here anyway. So that would be the starting position. Of course, we want our resonant filter going into it first. And then what we're going to do is add a comb filter. So let's add comb up here. Let's make it nice and full range here. And then let's set its frequency to where the key of our track is going to be. So that would be roughly, I think it's somewhere in the middle. So 38.5. I should probably look this up where it is. We can actually see over here, it's actually 38.9. So we can enter that in. 38.89. I don't know if 2 decimals will work here, but if it does, then that would be nicer. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to use this random over here to modulate the filter. So that is just going to generate a random value for every note as a trigger, kind of like the note on random inside of Serum. So now already we have the basis for the sound. For some reason, this comb filter doesn't seem to implement the feedback. Even with the highest resonance, I don't get it to extend the signal in any way. So that is pretty strange. That is not normal behavior. I quickly want to try the one in the effects over here. So maybe that is different. I don't know if that would be different, but maybe it is. We're just going to get full band here, and then we're going to give it full resonance. It's not. There we are. There we are. Now we get what we want here. So 38.89. So now we just add our delay to this. Tempo dotted, ping pong. Can make this maybe a bit more interesting by adding something like a downsampling here. Phaser also seems to be fairly interesting, so I'll leave that in there as well. Of course, we've also removed the lower frequencies from it. And that is pretty much everything that there is to this patch over here. Now, the main takeaway from this video, what I want to really get at is kind of the importance of sometimes doing stuff like this, where we have this really crazy MIDI setup. I like that when I open this up, my camera actually becomes more yellow. I'm still working on the lighting in this studio. As you can imagine, there's some new lights that are actually going to come in that should be a little bit stronger, so this effect is a little bit less. Of course, right now, my background is lit more than me myself, so that isn't really the greatest now. But it's still cool that you can have these effects where just opening up this MIDI clip, I get a completely different skin color. Either way, the reason why I want to highlight this is because this kind of generates the unpredictability in the sound. If we just go in here and we just take a MIDI clip that has one note, for example, let's just make one real quick. Just gonna make a random note here, and we're going to set that to D sharp because that is our key, and then we'll get to D sharp 0 here, which would be the standard for triggering a sound like this. Apart from the fact that we're seemingly losing a lot of volume, you can hear that this is a very basic sound. And really the only difference, of course, between these two sounds is that we're triggering every note over here, and this is just being triggered by one note. Meaning that the real conclusion here could be that the triggering of the note is an essential part of the sound design. And sometimes you can create these really cool sounds that you can only really get by just randomizing the pitch. And a really good way of doing that is through these MIDI things over here. So actually by default in my random music folder, I have as you can see, this just sitting in here, and I can just drag it in whenever I need it. So maybe this is a little bit of an unexpected way to improve your sound design, but tools like this can really help you to just come up with new sounds that you otherwise couldn't. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you did by leaving a like and make sure that you're subscribed. Also, of course, as we established before, you can get the patches for this sound on my Patreon page, which is an amazing way to support the channel. Another way to support the channel is by watching some more of my content, so there will be 2 videos up on the screen for you to choose from. So just pick one and enjoy, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.